Hey, it's Camo with another Nashville Access Facebook Live, the MV2 Sessions, live right here at MV2 Entertainment on Music Row. And something a little bit more of an Americana artist today, Bonnie Montgomery.
Yes.
Nice to have you with us.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, the studio audience is...
Oh, yeah.
They're mute.
Yeah, they
but
want
not
to be.
unseen.
Yeah. We're going to see. We'll see if they'll talk.
I listened to your album, and it's killer.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's really good. You've got this really cool blend. It's almost retro, but some really traditional elements in there.
Yeah. I have roots in country music, and they come out for sure, but I think lyrically, there's a lot of modern elements to our music, so yeah, it's kind of a blend. Is
it hard kind of being in that style of music that kind of defies labels?
Yeah, it is, but I've been lucky to get in with a group of musicians out of Austin, Texas, the Ameripolitan Association.
Dale Watson's,
Exactly. So, I mean, I was always doing my own thing, but they nominated me for the Outlaw Female, and then I was given that award, which was awesome.
Oh, congratulations.
Wow.
I didn't know you won that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was 2016. So, when I got that award, I kind of, embraced being sort of a outside of the box artist.
I love what the Ameripolitan Awards do, because Dale Watson has said, look, when you talk about Americana, it covers everything from New Orleans jazz to Tom Petty and Robert Plant, and where does country music, the traditional style of country music, fit into that? So he's separated that out to, let's call it Ameripolitan. He's had some pretty cool things going on with that. They did it in Memphis this year. It was the first time they've done it there.
Yeah, Kevin and I were there for the whole thing. We heard a whole lot of Elvis.
I bet you did.
On repeat.
But did you see him?
Yeah.
We may have seen his ghost. I don't know.
He was at the 7-Eleven.
Oh, is that where he hangs out? Okay.
Getting the big gulp.
Yeah, hanging out in the moon pie aisle. Now, you have a cut with Dale on the record.
Yeah.
That's what really got my attention, because I thought anybody's recording with Dale Watson is cool.
Oh, cool.
Because I'm a huge fan of his stuff.
Me too. He can do any style. His voice is just golden. He's such a talented musician.
What was that like working with him?
Oh, it was so fun. We all have stories from working with Dale in the studio. The studio's on his property, so I was actually staying in their house during the time that we were recording, and some of the bandmates were staying in his Airstream trailer that was right there. So it was kind of like a big family. He and Celine would bring us Lone Stars and stock it up, and one time he just kind of appears sometimes, it was sort of like the angel in the background.
Like a Jedi or something.
And he has that vibe.
The traditional country Jedi. Dale Watson.
One afternoon he came over, he had a gig at the Highball, which is his his high class gig. And he came over and he was dressed to the nines,
ruffle shirt,
tuxedo, the tails and everything. And I looked up and he was just standing there in the glass and he goes, "There's soup in the fridge. Y'all get hungry."
He's like, sing or don't sing. There is no try.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he's taught me a lot about being an entertainer and really putting it all out on the stage.
Because he's a guy that's totally cut his own path. There's nobody else doing what Dale Watson is doing.
Right. It's true.
And that's a good example for artists, and he's been very successful. He's toured internationally tons of times. Yeah,
and he calls it the shots for his own career. He doesn't answer to anyone. So I've learned a lot from him about how to run the show, the business side of it.
That's not an easy thing to do for an indie artist, is say, I'm the boss of this. And we're going to do what I want to do. But when you're an indie, you have more flexibility to be able to do that.
That's true.
A label calling the shots.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to it for sure, but putting the album out myself was really cool because I could make all the decisions.
Was it scary?
Yes, it was. because I had a label before this album. I had a label out of Portland, Oregon. That was actually an experimental punk label, but they they love country. I was their little country starlet, and
just put some pins on you.
Yeah, totally. Well, I've always kind of had the punk members in the band, and I think country and punk are very similar in some ways.
You say that too, and I think country and metal are very, the fans are very similar.
Yeah.
You could do like a CMA fanfare thing with metal, and it would work.
That's true.
But especially the Americana, it's got a lot of the punk, because so many of the punk bands were indie, and just trying to find a way in this commercial pavilion of music.
Right. Well, they say 3 chords in the truth. Yeah. It's punk and country music.
I've never used the word pavilion in a complete sentence. So you're here to witness.
First.
I'm not even sure if that sentence made sense. But it's like, what the hell? You're Americana.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to.
That's right.
Right. So, yeah, I forget how we got onto punk music, but
the punk label.
Yeah, the label. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, once that label kind of is not doing any work right now, they're on sabbatical or something. So they treated me beautifully, but I'm free of all of that now, and it was a little scary because my label led me, took me by the hand and showed me the ropes, and so I had to do it all myself this time, but I just, I followed my gut,
I think that's what you have to do, because there are no set rules anymore. No. And it's like, let's throw this out and see if it works, and if it does, you try it again, and if it doesn't, you try a different way.
Yeah, I really had to trust my intuition, especially in the studio when we were making decisions. Chris Burns is the engineer on this record, and he really helped teach me how to kind of go with my gut, because he was trying to save us time in the studio,
which is money.
Yeah, which is money.
The studios aren't cheap.
Yeah, and he was actually cracking the whip on us to, okay, he wouldn't take more than 3 takes of anything, and we wouldn't do any more than 3 listen backs, and so make that decision within those three chances. And I think it worked really well because it cut out any of the BS.
I think it's a great album.
Thank you.
I really do. It's got so many different elements going on that if you're, a traditional country purist, you can hear Tammy Wynette in it, and if,
cool.
You can hear some of the soul stuff going on. It's just got a really neat feel to the record.
Thank you. We recorded with the band in 2 days, and that was it.
Wow.
And then we went back and did overdubs. But I think it was 9 days total in the studio altogether.
I think when you're working with that whole Texas and Austin crowd, it's a different mindset, studio-wise, than what you would get in the Nashville thing. I heard one of the big Texas artists, I don't want to mention any names, but he was in the studio here with a big producer, and the producer was like, let's keep doing this till you get it right. And he's like, no, let's just mic it and do it. I sing these songs all the time in the honky tonks, and if I'm not hitting the right notes, then it doesn't deserve to be cut.
Right. Yeah. And then you just go down that rabbit hole, and you can kind of get lost and forget what the origin of the song even was. Yeah. I've definitely done that, and I much prefer this way that we did, for sure.
You want to do a song?
Yeah, I'm gonna get my capo.
All right.
So the album's called Forever, and if you listen to it, you heard all these different versions. I'd love to just do one of the versions.
Sure.
So the song Forever comes back 4 times on the album. And we did that, to kind of tie it all together, sort of like a concept album. One of our guides for this album was Willie Nelson's Phases and Stages.
Oh, that's
Do you know that album? Yeah. Oh, cool, you know it.
Oh, yeah. I'm more of a Redheaded Stranger guy.
Okay.
Because that was one of the first country concept albums. But Phases and Stages is a great album.
So great. Yeah. But Redheaded Stranger, too, was an inspiration, for sure. So this song, Forever, we kind of wanted it to be like that song, Washing the Dishes, or all the different names that it has, but kind of comes in and out, it weaves in and out. And so that's what Forever does. And so this one that I'd like to play is the intro. It's the first track on the album. It's the first verse of Forever, and it's sort of, we put it in a different key and put strings and steel and what else? Just
Spanish guitar.
The Spanish guitar. So, you know, it comes in different forms throughout the album. So this is sort of the intro. Oh man, I have this in there from last night. Do y'all mind if I remove this?
I've never seen anybody remove that in public.
Oh, you haven't? I know, it's very uncomfortable. Alright, you did it.
I won't look.
Let me get this. That may have affected my tuning. Okay. I have never been to Texas when the sun it didn't shine. So I'm leaving here tomorrow, leaving all my troubles far behind. When you join me on the highway, how we loved and what we shared, all the music and the laughter, what an evening, what a pair. But love goes on forever, and the highway lights, they just shine. And I will never leave you, even in the darkness of the night.
That's such a cool song.
Thanks.
It's funny because I just remembered when I wrote the quote for your. I mentioned Patsy Montana in there as
Oh,
well.
yes, you did. You wrote that awesome quote.
And it's neat to be able to listen to that album and pick up so many different layers of the more traditional forms of country music. It's really cool because,
Thanks.
you know, like I said earlier, you can hear some Tammy in there, but also to hear those little vague echoes of Patsy Montana, it's like, wow.
That's huge that you said that, because she's from Arkansas, and so am I, and she's like, you know, in the Hall of Fame and everywhere where Arkansas women in music are mentioned, so that's huge. And plus the yodeling, her vocal acrobatics are just incredible.
Arkansas has produced some incredible musicians, and it kind of flies under the radar. Everybody goes, oh, Glenn Campbell.
Right.
But there are so many that came out.
Oh my
of
God, Johnny Cash. I mean, Scott Joplin.
Yeah. There's
some incredible history there, and I've always kind of been an advocate of Arkansas music because I grew up there, and it's a crossroads because you got the Cajun influence from the South, and then the country influence from Tennessee and the Appalachian
Texas,
kind of, because the Ozarks have that whole bluegrass thing going on, and you get the blues influence from Mississippi and Memphis and the Texas swing and all of that. So it's a really interesting crossroads of diverse music, and I think I don't know, I've thought about this a whole lot and written papers about it and everything, but I think the geography also makes it diverse because there's, like I said, there's mountains in the north, there's swamps in the south of Arkansas, and that kind of brings, you know, a certain style of music with it.
Where in Arkansas are you from?
I'm from a little town called Searcy.
That's right where our family, near Bald Knob.
What?
Our family's,
Your family in Bald Knob?
Yeah. Yeah, my wife's family,
That's so cool.
We go down.
I know exactly. I have family in Bald Knob.
Searcy's right next door to Bald Knob.
Where the Delta meets the Ozarks.
That's right. But you can buy beer in Searcy.
No.
Isn't Searcy?
No, it's dry.
Oh, is it? Yeah, because Bald Knob's dry too.
You're thinking Augusta. That's where the line is.
Yeah.
No, Searcy's dry and has continued to be dry. It was up for a vote last year or 2 years ago, and everybody voted it down. Nobody wanted to have liquor.
Our uncle was the mayor of Bald Knob.
What is your...
For a long time.
What's his name?
Doyle Wallace.
Doyle Wallace.
I know the name.
Well, there's a bunch of Wallaces there.
Yeah.
Man, if my mom was here or my grandfather were here, I'm sure they'd know everybody. That's so incredible. Yeah. Well, I have this theory that Searcy is the center of the universe. There's ways to tie everything back to that strange little town.
Yeah, it's one of the four corners of the earth. Paris, Milan, London, Searcy.
No, it is. It's really weird because in Arkansas, I'm just going to say it, Searcy people kind of dominate the creative arts in the whole state. And we have theories for why, and I mean, maybe there was just something in the water, but...
There's a lot of stuff in the water.
Yeah, there is. Especially now that they've done all that fracking, but, you know, I think we were so oppressed in a way because it was a dry county. Mm-hmm. There's a church across the university that owns everything in the town. I mean, the movies were censored. Yeah. Even Footloose, they said, was about Searcy, and it was censored. We weren't able to watch it. No MTV, nothing. And
I'm just picturing all these kids running around Searcy going, I want my MTV.
Right. No, it was like that. So we mentioned punk earlier, but there was a really strong punk scene underground in Searcy, and which is surprising. But, you know, something about the oppressive environment, I think.
Even if you look at Cash, he was kind of punk in his own way.
Oh, totally. Yeah. In fact, last night we did a Danzig, a song that Johnny Cash covered called Number 13. Wow. And it's a totally punk song, but that's fun to do. So, yeah, it's interesting to think about the influences there in that time. And I can't believe you're from Bald Knob, or you all have relatives there. Yeah. That is incredible.
That's funny.
Usually
when you say Bald Knob, you have to kind of describe where it is. But you're the first person. It's right there,
Man, they have really good watermelons and strawberries in Bald Knob.
I'm not a watermelon fan.
Oh, really?
Oh, vile weed. It's awful.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I respect that.
But strawberries
are crazy.
Killing,
Yeah, their strawberries in Bald Knob are really small and they're real tart. Yeah, man, there's nothing like
Which
them.
coincidentally describes some of the people.
Small-minded, yeah.
No, small and tart. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
So how are people responding to the album?
So far, it's been really positive. Yeah. I think a lot of people are surprised that it's sort of this artistic piece that stands as one piece, you know? And a lot of my fans who followed me, I think a lot of them have said that this was my best work so far. So that's cool. Like when we were talking about not having a label and me trusting myself for the first time, that's really cool that I'm getting that feedback.
There's a lot of freedom, but it's a big scary thing to do by yourself.
Right.
But
I was able to just kind of go as far as I wanted to with the ideas that I had. One of the songs on the album called Comets, it's it doesn't have any kind of country music instrumentation really. We put a French horn, oboe, cello, viola, violin, classical guitar, and voice. And so that was fun to kind of just do whatever we wanted with that song. And it turned out to be like an Eleanor Rigby inspired kind of song. Yeah, cool. And actually, we worked on this, and my bandmate Jeff Robson, he's a classically trained guy, and he's a conductor. Wow. He actually scored that song out for the musicians that we had to come in. And we were all saying, let's go with this Eleanor Rigby vibe, you know, let's not be afraid to kind of just go off the rails. And then George Martin actually died the day that we were in the studio. Wow. And so that inspired us to just be like, okay, we're going whole hog with this. We're going to do it kind of as a tribute to George Martin.
But in this day and age, though, it's so easy for artists like yourself to be your own genre, you know, and let people find you because they like your more country sounding stuff and they like that stuff, or you like the Beatles-esque kind of thing, and they get into that. You know? Like Ed Sheeran is probably the biggest name that's done that. You know, he can sound pretty country, but he also does EDM, and it's amazing the versatility. And people don't have to like everything you've done, but they can cherry pick and say, yeah, I like this more traditional stuff, or I like the kind of Beatles stuff.
Yeah, that is a cool aspect of being in music right now. You can kind of make your own rules. But that's why Willie Nelson was sort of a guiding light for this, because I was more of a Cash person all my life, and he is my inspiration, and I feel like he's my family kind of in a way, because he was raised like 2 counties over from where I was raised. He talked like my relatives talk, you know, and but then I discovered the Willie catalog, and I kind of identified with that more, because Willie was not really in a genre either. You know, he's the first country artist to get the Gershwin Award for songwriting, because a lot of what he writes is almost like standards.
Well, he's a jazz guy.
Yeah.
Willie is a pure jazz guy, and when they released Django and Jimmy,
right, he loves Django.
Yeah, because a friend of mine, Jeff Prince, wrote that song, and he did the research. He said, you know, I wanted to get a cut with my musical heroes, so I did research and found out who Merle's musical hero was and who Willie's, and wrote a song about that, and they cut it. But
so cool.
Django is, if you watch old video of Django, that's what Willie's doing.
It is. It is.
And his phrasing is all jazz phrasing, completely.
I've read some of his books. His books are amazing. Have you read his joke books? Oh man,
I've heard it. He just has the goofiest joke.
Yeah, the joke. There's a whole book of just jokes, but there's several about his life. And he said that he was raised in these work environments out in the fields, and that there were all these immigrants out there. And he said that it was like an opera. That there was just music, and it was from all over the world. He said, you know, I think for some reason I remember reading that there were Czech people working these fields and singing their traditional songs, and you know, he said he soaked that up. And I love opera. I studied opera, so I think that's, I don't know, I identify with that being an influence.
Cool. What's the name of the album?
Forever. Yeah.
And it's Bonnie Montgomery. Where can people find you?
BonnieMontgomeryMusic.com is the website, and we're on tour right now. We're going back and forth throughout the South, and then we're going up to New York City next weekend, and the Carolinas after that. And then we'll be in Texas. And then I'm on social media, Bonnie Montgomery.